Today, Kamala Harris looks to secure the presidential nomination, China brings together rival Palestinian factions, and negotiations begin over US troops' withdrawal from Iraq. From TLDR News, this is your daily briefing for Tuesday, the 23rd of July, 2024. US Vice President Kamala Harris has all but secured the Democratic Party nomination for president, in a frantic 36 hours since President Joe Biden announced he was withdrawing from the race and endorsing Harris. Biden's immediate endorsement of his VP on Sunday evening started a wave of endorsements from within the party, and by Monday evening, Harris had the endorsement of all Democratic Party governors and nearly 90% of Democratic senators and representatives, according to the New York Times. Crucially, Harris has also now secured the support of enough delegates who actually participate in the official nomination of the Democratic candidate at the party's convention in August. An unofficial survey by the Associated Press found that Harris had the support of more than 2,600 party delegates, which is well over the 1,976 needed to secure the presidential nomination. Now, technically, delegates could still change their mind, but this seems unlikely, as A, no other names were mentioned by any delegate contacted by the Associated Press, and B, all these delegates were previously pledged to Biden, and he has obviously endorsed Harris. Now, while there might have been some nerves in the party over Biden's withdrawal and what it means for the campaign and the election, their nerves have probably been quickly settled by the fact that Harris's campaign raised a record-breaking $81 million in the 24 hours after Biden dropped out, which the campaign said represents the largest single-day total in US history. All the focus is now on exactly how Harris will take on Donald Trump. In a sign of how Harris might campaign against Trump, on Monday, she spoke about her past as San Francisco District Attorney and California Attorney General, saying she pursued predators and fraudsters, so, quote, "Hear me when I say I know Donald Trump's type." Meanwhile, the Trump campaign will also have to pivot their messaging, having previously directed the vast majority of their attacks against the now withdrawn Joe Biden. Trump's campaign has since sought to tie Harris to Biden's record as president, saying, "Kamala Harris's dismal record is one of complete failure and utter incompetence. Her policies are Biden's policies and vice versa." But perhaps the biggest decision Harris will have to make is to choose her vice presidential running mate, who, if chosen effectively, could help boost her in the key swing states. If you want to know more about some of the potential names, then check out our recent video over on the TLDR Global channel, and the link is down in the description. There's more on the way, but remember to subscribe and ring the bell for more daily briefing tomorrow. Plus, if you want to support the channel like Rahul Agarwal, then consider joining the new TLDR membership program for just $1.99. Rival Palestinian factions, Hamas and Fatah, have signed a Chinese-brokered agreement aimed at ending division and strengthening Palestinian unity after a long rift. The reconciliation talks and agreement actually involved 14 different Palestinian factions, with Hamas and Fatah being the main ones, and it began in Beijing on Sunday. It represents the latest effort by China to establish itself as something of a peace broker in the Middle East, having previously brought rivals Saudi Arabia and Iran together in a 2023 agreement. Discussing the new Palestinian agreement, China's foreign minister said the core outcome is that the PLO, the Palestine Liberation Organization, is the sole legitimate representative of the Palestinian people, and that the sides had reached an agreement on post-Gaza war governance and the establishment of a provisional national reconciliation government covering the Palestinian territories. But it remains to be seen if this declaration of intent actually leads to a permanent resolution of the Palestinian split, as previous reconciliation efforts, including a similar deal in 2011, effectively went nowhere. For context, Hamas and Fatah have been rivals since at least 2007, when a brief civil war saw Hamas take control of the Gaza Strip, expelling Fatah, which was left administering the West Bank as part of the Palestinian Authority. Moving to the US now, the US has resumed negotiations with Iraq over the potential withdrawal of thousands of US troops from the country. The Iraqi delegation is reportedly seeking the withdrawal of US forces to begin in September this year, and for the US-led coalition's work to formally end by September 2025. Now, the US established a presence in Iraq in 2003, when US-led forces invaded and toppled the regime of Saddam Hussein, before ultimately withdrawing in 2011. However, the US returned in 2014, leading a coalition against the Islamic State insurgency. Some 2,500 US troops remain in Iraq today, housed across 3 main bases. It's not clear yet exactly how many troops Iraq would like to see leave, as according to the Al Monitor news outlet, the Iraqi Prime Minister is seeking a transition to a more normal bilateral defense relationship, which could see a partial or full withdrawal, or a rebranding to a new mission. Reuters writes that US officials are keen to maintain some kind of military footprint in Iraq on a bilateral basis, partly to assist the 900 or so US troops that are stationed across the border in Syria, but also to act as a check on Iranian influence in the region. This is a deeply sensitive issue given the US's past role in Iraq, the presence of Iran-aligned militias in the country, and concerns about Islamic State's ability to regroup, despite having been declared territorially defeated. Next up, the EU's most senior diplomat, Josep Borrell, has joined the EU's boycott against Hungary's EU Council presidency. Borrell has called an alternative meeting of foreign affairs and defence ministers in Brussels to rival Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán's meeting in Budapest, reflecting the bloc's anger against Orbán's lack of loyal cooperation. For context, a few days ago, the European Commission announced it would partially boycott Hungary's 6-month EU Council presidency, following Orbán's self-declared peace mission to Kyiv, Moscow, Beijing, Washington, and Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort earlier this month. Orbán made the trip within days of Hungary taking on the rotating presidency, meeting with Putin and Trump and claiming, without authorization, to represent the European Union. This provoked criticism from the Council's legal service, which said it breaches Article 24.3 of the EU treaties, which states that all countries must support the bloc's foreign policy. Borrell described Orbán's stop in Moscow as only benefiting Putin and said it will not bring peace. He also said each member state is sovereign on its foreign policy, true. But as far as they're members of this club, they have to obey the treaties. Complying with this obligation is not something you can do or not. You have to. In our final uplifting story today, we go to America, where last month, 6-year-old Xavier Joel was unfortunately set to miss his kindergarten graduation as a result of a clash with a wedding. Xavier's mum Jay explained the situation to his teachers, and they were both allowed to attend a rehearsal in which Xavier received his diploma while his classmates cheered him on. Jay then opted to bring Xavier's cap and gown on board their flight, and asked for a picture with the pilot. But instead of simply taking the picture, the pilot conducted another mini graduation in front of the other passengers, with Xavier walking down the aisle to cheers from the others on board.
If you want to learn more, then check out our physical magazine, Too Long. We've been working on this for a while now, but it's about to be printed and shipped. So here's everything you need to know. Too Long is 60 pages of our very best journalism, diving deeper into issues than we can on YouTube. As you can see from the front cover, this issue is focused on the UK general election, explaining what Labour want to do with their new huge majority, what each of the other parties are going to do next, and much more. It's more than just the UK though, with major stories from across Europe and the world, including the US election, the countries who could join the EU, the war in Gaza, and the European elections. We're really proud of how this product has turned out, and we think it's some of our best writing yet, able to dive into topics in a way that the algorithm just wouldn't allow. It's also a great way to support the channel, with the cost of production only increasing as we expand and advertising markets getting less stable. Your support helps us improve the business, improve our journalism, and helps us make more free YouTube content for everyone. If you're interested, you can go to toolong.news to buy a copy. There you'll find both standard and premium editions of the magazine, with the premium edition getting your name printed in the thank you section and getting you access to our behind the scenes podcast, The Bullpen. Premium editions will only be available until Thursday at 11 AM, when the print run begins, so you don't have long. You can also subscribe to Too Long, which gets you 25% off the price and a copy sent straight to you every 4 months. Subscribing really helps us turn this into a reliable revenue stream, which is super helpful when it comes to growing our business. Plus, if physical isn't your thing, then there's also digital versions. Anyway, sales close soon, so head to toolong.news to order now, and make sure to use code FINALORDERS to get an extra £2 off your purchase. Thanks for watching and for supporting TLDR.